Okay, my calculations are done. I've gone ahead and just let it calculate. You can see they just jump here, and actually it's working pretty well. We had made changes to one of the die, and you can see that just that little bit of variation in torque and weight, one of them flies off the back of the table, which is kind of cool because I know that happens to me every once in a while when I've been in Las Vegas, which is fun. The other one hits the back wall and bounces because the whole table is actually a collision object. So that's very cool. So I'm going to save the scene. The next thing we're going to do is set up our camera. So our camera is down here. We're going to press 6. Gets to our camera view. And I'm going to open the camera properties. And I've got my camera set to about 11 millimeters. So yours might be set to about 24. So bring that down to about 11. 10 or 11 millimeters, okay? It's going to create a really nice wide angle for us. The other thing is make sure Use Globals is on for motion effects and for the resolution within the camera properties panel. That allows us to control everything in the render options panel. Lastly, I've just named my camera Craps Camera, so we know. All right, so from here, you can see here's the die all the way up here. Now, the way I'm going to do this is the way I've set up other keyframes in other training videos, which is to not try and follow this every 5 frames, meaning, all right, here's frame 0, and then I'm going to, come here for a little bit and try and move the camera and set it here. Don't do that. Here's a better way. Delete this. I have auto key on, so it created a keyframe there. I'm going all the way down to about frame 60. And at 60, I'm going to move the camera down to the end of the table because that's where the dice are. It takes 2 seconds for them to come down, which really is probably still too slow. But what's cool about this is you can see how my wide angle, and I'm going to hit the Y key, which jumps me to rotate. And with my right mouse button, I could just kind of give it a Dutch angle like that. Here's one die. The other die is already, I think, flown off the table, which is fine. But what's cool is that we've now followed this all the way down by 2 keyframes. Okay. Now we're going to make a little bit of a tweak here and there. Okay, and you can raise it up or raise it down, however you like. I kind of like it low. I had envisioned this thing just very low. And if you look now, we're pretty much following this all the way down. A little bit off in the center, but what's nice now is we can go right into the middle of this, press our Y for rotate, and here we are. And we can just try that, see how that looks. And the idea here is that we're not creating a bunch of keyframes and making a messy camera move. And that's what's going to happen if you try and keyframe every 5 or 6 frames or something like that. Okay, so at frame 30, I've just envisioned this down here and take advantage of our wide angle and pull that down. You can move it around a little bit without it screwing things up too much as far as your motion, because again, there's not a lot of keyframes. And then I can go right in here to about frame 15 and even just rotate it down like this and maybe get a little crazy and pull it off to the side, rotate it. Okay, I'm using, again, my right mouse button to rotate. I'm going to save my scene. And they don't have to stay in the frame the whole time. And this one, as it bounces, something else you can do too is, here's frame 82 where it's hitting. Let's find out at what frame it actually, I'm going to go to 4. Let's see what frame it actually hits the wall. I'm going to use, you can see it right there. I'm going to use my arrow keys just to cycle through. 1, 2. So right about 71, it hits the wall. So if you go back to your camera, go to frame 71, which I already am, and move the camera over, you can actually, because I'm actually right in the wall here, you can maybe even go like this. So it kind of hits you and bounces off. Just something kind of fun like that. But we're just going to keep it with 60 frames for right now. Maybe about 70. Okay, we'll do our full 70 frame animation. Okay, and just let that go. So it's kind of fun. Then at frame 60, not 30, for the camera, we want to get our Move TCB. Okay, that's right here under Tools, under Modify. Turn that on, and for tension, just set this to 1. And then maybe for frame 0, we'll set this to 1. That'll ease in and ease out. Now it's going to change the slope of that curve a bit. So things are going to change a little bit because the camera now is easing out of its initial position. So that might mean adding a keyframe or two. So I'm okay with it coming right into the camera. I think it looks kind of cool. You know, but then if you start doing that, you might get a little bit of a swing move there. So I think I don't like that. So I'm going to delete 7, come back to 0, get my move TCB, and I'm not going to ease this out, or maybe I'll ease out just a little bit less, like 0.5. So the camera can move a little bit quicker. And I think that's probably a little bit better way to go. And that's it. So from here, that is our movement and camera setup, which is really cool. Let's open up the render options. So go to render, render options. And if you remember, in our camera tab, we'd put on globals for motion effects. That means we can control everything here in our global panel. We're going to render out maybe 70 frames. Turn off frame and beep. We don't need that. 640 by 480 is fine. I might actually cut this in half for speed. So it's 320 by 240. Under render, we will put shadows on. We're going to calculate that in a minute. Reflections, you could make the dice somewhat reflective, but I don't think they need to be. And we still have to set up surfaces for that. Under filtering, we're going to go with a classic enhanced medium and motion blur. Let's do a photoreal motion blur of about 60%. And we're going to press S again to save the scene. And let's get down here to a cool frame about there. And let's just press an F9 to render. And we'll let this go. Basically, I just want to see how the motion blur looks. Because that really adds to the effect. And we don't often do that in a lot of animations. You can even put some depth of field on too, because we have such a wide angle. But it should be working okay. Now, you can see it's all kind of chunky. All right. And that's fine. We're going to put some more anti-aliasing on and everything else. You'll also see the dice are just sitting there. Okay, it's not rendering the actual dynamics just yet. So let's move on to the next video, and I'll show you how to set all that up, and we'll get our surfaces and maybe some background lights in here.